Good evening and welcome to Content Content, the late night Wednesday show. Here with me this evening is dear friend, fellow New York City comedian, Zach Khandakji. Zach, thank you for coming on the show, good sir.
It's an honor, man. I feel like I should not be here, but I'm ready.
I could not disagree more. I was actually very happy. I did a little Instagram post sort of explaining what Content Content is, and I was very happy that you reached out to me, man.
Seemed like a fun idea. It seemed I liked the whole comedians talking about slightly more serious things than dick jokes.
Yeah, there's got to be room for that somewhere along the way, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, on content here, what we're trying to get into is like you have the ancient religions, then you have like new agey kind of stuff, and a lot of that is just fraught with a lot of bullshit, and that can be very damaging to folks. However, it's not all bullshit, I don't think. So Mike and I just try and figure out like what's worth keeping in mind, because of course, as you and we well know, being like materially obsessed and constantly defining yourself by how other people think of you and defining on the clothes you wear and stuff is a path to absolute madness. That's no good either.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on the show, Zach. First question, man, and this is a question I'm interested in asking you, is like, what is your spiritual or religious background, if you have one, that is?
Well, my dad is Muslim. My dad is from Palestine, and then my mom, she's Catholic, but I think they're both a little bit removed from their religion. Like my mom is completely. I remember my grandma left Catholic church, then and then my dad. It seems like the older he gets, the more Muslim he becomes again, like going back to his roots.
Okay.
But I think I was never really raised with religion. So I was trying to like figure it out by myself. I've gone through like doubting God or like doubting being a higher power, to questioning it, to doubting it, to like, no, there's definitely got to be something. Like too many strange coincidences. Definitely say more agnostic, like believing there has to be something out there, but not necessarily thinking that anyone has the right idea or right mind, like really knows what it is.
You know what, man, I totally agree with you, and I think that's the answer that most people like around our age would have. Because that's kind of the same way where like my parents were religious because they were religious when they were kids because their parents forced them to go to Catholic school and stuff like that. So then when they were adults, they were like, nah, we don't really care. So I didn't really like grow up to church.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you ever talk to somebody who's like, I can't get down with people who are like, I'm an atheist. Like, it's all a mistake that we're here. None of this means anything. Because, like you said, the coincidences, synchronicities.
Yeah, there's just too much happening. Right? like sometimes I'd find myself like talking to the universe, like just like looking. I'm like, okay, I see you. Like,
That's the
I get it. I think like humans have the ability to believe and the ability to have hope for a reason as well.
Well said, man. Yeah, I forgot that your dad. How did your parents meet, man? Did they meet in the States?
They did. They met in Florida on, I want to say my dad's birthday. It's like my dad's like birthday party.
Really?
Yeah, he got lucky. He had a good birthday.
It's always a good birthday when you get laid, let alone meeting your future wife.
Yeah, like go Sandy, like throwing it out there, like for the birthday boy.
And I will say too that because I have tried to do a decent amount of reading in all the various religions, because I think there's good things to pull from all of them. But Islam is probably the one that I'm least familiar with. I wonder if you have any like common stories or myths or things from your dad that like still resonate with you, or that would come to mind.
Not necessarily. Unfortunately, again, like this is what I'm saying, where like I feel like I'm not the right guest, but I was like, hey, I want to talk to Derek. Like, I want to talk about this stuff. No, because like again, when like my dad became very Americanized. Like for the most part, like he doesn't necessarily pray. Um, when he'll like go back to Palestine or like Jordan or Kuwait, because he has like family like in all three kind of areas, and then he'll kind of get more. But I think the thing that like stuck out to me most with and like this is kind of when I was more in like just rejecting religion, spirituality, like just like no, it's all we're all just here. It's just like seeing like some problematic things from like their culture or religion in terms of control, like the man and then the woman, like things like that. um so not I am not as well versed in like the Muslim religion as like as much as I should be. I believe.
Well, yeah, I mean, particularly in America, given all of our terrible propaganda and stuff like that, I feel like Islam really gets drugged through the mud. There's also geopolitical things there where like Saudi Arabia has, I think, a pretty fundamentalist interpretation of Islam, and they're very powerful. So they like propagate that specific brand of it,
Yes.
But I mean,
Yeah.
they're fundamentalist Christians who are just as nuts, just in kind of a
Yes.
different and
Yeah.
fun, interesting way.
Completely agree. Yeah. There's levels. There's levels to every religion.
There
And
is.
like the right level for each religion is a very beneficial, good thing, rather than like hindrance. Like even like Christianity, probably the most hated religion right now, at least in terms of like our age group.
Yes.
Like, take away the craziness. Those values are like very good. Those are very good values to have.
That's the thing, man. And I've listened to a lot of. Have you ever heard of Ram Dass? He was like a Harvard professor who went and studied in India and brought like Buddhist and Hindu things kind of back to America in the 70s. And one of the things he was saying about the like a Catholic service or whatever is, okay, I understand it's a lot of crazy stories or whatever, but if you sit there and listen through the whole service, do you really think like it's 100% bullshit? Like absolutely everything they say is useless? Or could there just be like some little things that might be? And like you said too, it's so much about like power, which is of course like the struggle throughout all of human history. Is anytime there's like a community or a system, it can so easily be co-opted by people who are trying to control others and manipulate others to be like that. But another reason why Mike and I started to do this show was like, man, we have lost our sense of community in so many ways, where now we live in a world where you get all your answers from the internet and from the television. So there's not really a reason to go ask somebody else what they think because I've already got it figured out.
Yeah.
And that is unprecedented in human history.
Yeah, community is definitely lost. And that was like the one aspect of religion that I always was kind of jealous about.
I know.
Like you see those Mormons and how happy they are and like how like nice they are to like everyone in their community. Like they're always lending like a helping hand. Like they're good. It's like they're good to each other. And it's like, why do you have to be in a crazy religion to just do that for the people around you? Very true.
I don't know, and I wonder if we can get that type of community back in some way, and I wonder how. I mean, do you have any fucking idea on how?
Nope. Nope. Like I know I can, but it's like I think it's just up to like the individual of like I try and make everyone I talk to feel welcome and like respected, and like I don't think I'm a very judgmental person. I try not to be, like maybe behind closed doors, like I'm like, oh, that person's kind of a dick. But like
we're all
even
entitled
then,
to that.
yeah. But but it's really just up to individuals, and it's like like even people who I know are genuinely good people are so closed off against people that don't necessarily have the same values. And like when you close yourself off, you're like open yourself up for like extreme conflicts and disagreements, where like if you just kind of open and like openly communicate, you'll realize you're a lot more similar than you actually think. And a lot of things are just like miscommunications or just like different life experiences.
I think that's very, very true, man. And even like, well, we are fortunate in some way to be part of a comedy community. At least that's like some semblance of a community.
Yeah.
But that is also a community fraught with like people who are jealous and upset and like, divisions of like these people don't like this type of person or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, yeah, go ahead.
No, that's very true. It's weird because the comedy community, it's like we're all degenerates. We're all here because we're like for a reason. Like why is there even feuding? But then sometimes I'll catch myself in it, just like I don't like that guy. Like I don't like that group, and it's just like why am I doing that? Like we're all
Right.
we're all going for the same thing.
Right. And yeah, and that is even within its own community. I don't know. I think that technology has done so much to like, and you see it with the election and electoral politics and stuff is, well, let me put it this way. Like being that you're a Florida guy, I can imagine you have some Republicans in the family, or at least in the neighborhood or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that's so frustrating for me to see now is now that Mr. Biden lives in Washington, D.C., there's a certain smugness to the liberal attitude of like, I'm sorry, but it is just not the case that everybody who voted for Donald Trump is an idiot, racist, horrendous white supremacist. And to just like be snarky to those people on Twitter and completely think that they're, again, just complete idiots is so destructive. I mean, we see all this kind of bullshit now about like unity and uniting the country, and oh goodness, Donald Trump is gone, so now we can all come back together.
Yeah, they're like, let's unite, except for you guys. Fuck you. Like, it's like, come on. Like, it's like I'm a firm believer that these like I'd say extreme liberal, like not extreme, like I think like difference between like leftists and liberals, but like the ones that are like, no, Biden is the answer. It's like you're just as stupid as Trump supporters, in my opinion. Like
I completely agree.
Stupid. Like telling me the guy that also had sexual harassment cases against him, the thing that you like CNN like just broadcast about Donald Trump, like they're now praising Joe Biden. Like he did the same exact thing.
Right.
He's not a racist, except he like tries to pass the most racist bill ever. He's like responsible for passing like the most racist bill ever. like come on. Like, you can't do that. And like it's about getting Trump out of office. It's like no.
Right.
It's not. But it's like I especially in Florida, like there's so many Republican comics that I know, and it's like I don't necessarily agree with them, but I can definitely say for a fact that they're not racist. Like they're just not. I've seen them interact. I've seen them like it's again just I don't want to say misinformation, but like when you're being told the same thing over and over from a young age, you're gonna usually believe it. And people do not like stepping out of their views. Like they really don't. So it's really hard for them to like see the different perspective. Like yeah.
And that's again, we're in such a kind of like egotistical time where we're materially obsessed and you have to grind every moment of every day, and everybody's social media is you only post the coolest possible things about yourself and whatnot. And so, yeah, like people have such strongly held beliefs. And so, like, a Democrat versus a Republican is an example of this. But just in general, like, I often wonder, how do you actually change somebody's mind?
I think it's through understanding their perspective. Like,
I would
I
agree.
think it's really just not trying to deny them of their own thoughts and feelings, but just it's. I think the reason that like Democrats are like, why can't they get it? It's like if you approach someone with like an attack like mentality, your initial reaction is to defend.
Yes.
Like, even when I'm talking to my liberal friends and they start attacking, it's like just because of like how they're acting, I'll find myself like defending even something I don't necessarily like, believe in, like just like from that reason. I think it really comes with understanding and like healthy proper communication. Like,
I totally agree, man. And then the follow-up question is like, well, why do people not offer that like social grace?
I think it's that whole, I think this also goes back to like technology, Twitter, of like wanting to be right, wanting to own someone, like, it's like, ha, I got them. Like they're an idiot because my group of people will agree with me. It's like there's some sort of validation that people try and gain from it, of like being more right, or like making someone look stupid.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's basically in some ways that's what like Twitter is founded upon. Is like that's how you get a Twitter following, is like dunking on people really hard. Which is a perfect illustration of how ultimately useless that type of dialogue is, because while you may like grow a following of people who agree with you, you will have, I would imagine, an equal and opposite amount of people who now recognize you as someone who's an idiot and needs to be taken down and destroyed or whatever.
Yeah, like, yeah, but granted, like there are real idiots out there. Like there
Yeah,
are
true,
idiots.
right?
And
Let's not.
you're gonna be an idiot to someone,
Yeah.
but and I even understand. I understand like liberal perspective. Like I would rather have the right, like the left, look up to be in love me than the right.
Yeah, true. I mean, I will admit that also.
like I especially like the comedians and like a way of getting canceled. Like let's say one of us like got big and then got canceled, but the right liked us, and they're like, no, he's right. Be like, no, guys, like shut the fuck up. Like I don't like you either.
I'm not trying to please you guys either, okay?
Yeah, like, no, I disagree with you guys more.
And yeah, I mean, not to dig into the politics stuff too much, but what I kind of think about it is like, most people have a lot more in common. This is what you just said. Most people have a lot more in common than they realize. And sometimes I think like these like cultural issues are broadcast on the television to keep most middle and lower class people fighting amongst
Yes,
themselves.
yeah,
Because if you're a poor black family in Detroit, or you're a poor white family in West Virginia, you both need more money. That's like the main thing. And so your day-to-day experience might be different. The way you talk to your family might be different or whatever. But at the end of the day, I always say this, but don't you want to just like call your mom, make sure she's okay, and have some drinks with your friends on Friday night? And with growing wealth inequality in America, I think the people that own the country become more and more afraid. And so you see all these cultural things. And I think under a Biden administration, you're going to see even more of it.
yeah.
Of, oh no, well, this diversity training in the workplace. And I'm not saying that those aren't issues. But man, the economy keeps crashing. Have you noticed this, folks? And it has nothing to do with us, and yet we're tremendously impacted by it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it would take. Something I think some of the ideas that Bernie Sanders introduced into the dialogue, and even honestly some things that Donald Trump said, were very kind of simple ideas that were able to kind of cut through a lot of the bullshit. And people say, you know what, I do agree with that, actually. And both Donald Trump and Bernie brought people into like the political world or like caring about politics that otherwise were like, I don't give a fuck, you know?
Yeah, Bernie did that for me. Like
Me too, man.
like he was like the first person that's like, oh, he actually like he's for the people, like for the first time. And that's like it's like watching, like, I mean, like you said, even Donald Trump a little, like it wasn't like, yeah, he definitely brought like a lot of like hate into, he like enabled a lot of hate. But like the way like the political world like shamed him and Bernie Sanders for like, I don't know, kind of taking the people's thoughts, like their true thoughts and feelings. They're like, no, these both of them are terrible. Like the way they slandered Bernie especially was like just so gross.
Yeah.
I'd be like talking to my mom and she'd be like, well, Bernie did like this. I'm like Bernie's a millionaire. It's like he's also like an winning best-selling author, mom. Like,
He wasn't like pushing numbers around on Wall Street to screw a bunch of. He doesn't own sweatshops, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But you definitely saw like the Democratic Party like pushing him down completely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. So lately I've been feeling kind of pessimistic because I think we have to come together and have some sort of like communal sense. And when all the power structures are trying at every turn to drive us apart, and that's again another reason why I like at least talking about these kinds of things on the show is like, I think one of the like advertising obsessed, materially obsessed American way now, one of the things that it's removed from life is a certain like spiritual component. We're very much in a like you only live once, get it while you can, cut this person's throat because if not, they're going to cut your throat. And I think that's killing us, man, and it's killing the whole planet too. By the way,
yeah, it's the mine mentality. Like it's mine. Like I gotta take it.
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that. Yeah, no. Yeah, I can't even like get into it. Like not like I can't even like get into that type of mentality. And it's like it sucks because like I feel like especially in our like what we want to do, it's like you kind of have to. And it's like that's the thing that hurts me like the most. Like I don't want to like sell myself. Like like posting, like promoting. Like that's not who I am. Like you have to do it. It's like I can't. Like it makes me feel gross inside.
Me too. Dude, yeah, I'm so glad you said that, man, because I often think there's a term, and this is people say like the comedy business or the entertainment business, or people say like the music business. But music business, those are two terms that have absolutely nothing to do with one another, because a person who makes music or does comedy or is an artist tends to be, I think, a pretty sensitive individual who is able to express things that are, maybe not recognized or are felt but not discussed. And that person tends to be, I think, a little more introspective.
Yeah.
And then you have the person who's a business person, who is kind of like the opposite of all of that. a good business person is very extroverted, is very self-assured, generally speaking. You know, they're trying to like get one over on you all the
Yeah.
time. And while, yeah, I do make content and I do want people to see it, um, to like research blogs about like when's the proper time to do X, Y, and Z, or like connect with this person and like networking and that kind of stuff has always just made me feel so gross.
It hurts my soul. Like, it hurts me morally. I feel fake.
Yes.
Like, I feel completely fake. Like, yeah, that's one of like the big issues I have with comedy right now is like, in order to get successful, it feels like I have to do everything like I know I'm like kind of morally against.
Yeah.
Like, like every single time I do a post of like, oh, this show is great, or like, check me out here, it's like the one thing I've really tried not to do, and like I've really tried to like take aim, at least like personally, like spiritually, is like being humble, not bragging about what I'm doing, not
Right.
not trying to like put myself out there and like thinking I'm like God's gift to the world.
I
Like,
know.
you know, but it's like they're like, no, this is what you have to do, like you have to think this way. I'm like, it hurts.
It
It
hurts.
hurts.
And you're right. I think you were insinuating too, like with all this COVID stuff. Now, like everything has shifted online. And one thing I miss and one thing that I still really value is, and you know this as well as I, is like, oh, well, part of the cool thing about what we were doing before was being in a room of people and getting that response and feeling that energy of the room and playing with it and whatnot. And I don't know, that's not something you can recreate uh, over the computer.
And I haven't even attempted, really. Like, I really haven't attempted to, in general, like with comedy, I haven't attempted because it's not
Mhm.
the same. It doesn't give me that same like validation, happiness. It more makes me go, "What am I doing right now?" Like,
No,
trying to entertain, like,
right.
like, yeah.
It feels strange. Now, I realize the irony in saying this as I'm speaking to you over the computer, but let's just set that
This
aside
is
for a second.
different. This is different.
This
Like,
is
yeah,
two
we're
buds
trying to
talking.
entertain, but like also trying to have a deep conversation with my friend
Yeah, right?
for
I mean, come on.
validation. For validation.
Well, let me pull back a little bit here, man.
Yeah.
And my question is, like, what compelled you? And this is maybe not just a single moment that did it, but what compelled you throughout your life to want to make art, to want to do comedy or any other art form that you kind of did?
I think like truthfully I think it came from like a selfish, little perspective of like I want my voice to be heard. Like I think I've always been very introverted, very shy, like which is like I feel like surprising. You probably would have said the opposite. But
Mhm.
man, that's how I've been. I never talked in school. I would
Yeah.
purposely I would purposely skip days. Like I would skip award ceremonies so I wouldn't have to go on stage. I would skip school plays. Like if we had a Halloween, like we had to dress up. Nope, nope, no, no, no. Like staying home. Like it um I guess I got older. I think as I got older and a little bit more outgoing and a little bit more comfortable with who I was, like I loved making people laugh. It made me feel good, like making other people feel good. And then like slowly, like I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase of like all comedians want to be musicians or like all musicians want to be like comedians. But
Yeah.
like yeah, like I always wanted to be a musician. Had no idea how to play an instrument and I like went to comedy. Um, I remember listening to comics like talk and then like having conversations like this, like not necessarily they're like comedic jokes of just
Mhm.
more hearing how they view the world and how like kind of more open they are to hearing every side rather than just having like firm beliefs. Like loved how introspective they were about themselves and their flaws and how honest they were as humans, and they weren't trying to hide it. And I felt like that really resonated with me, and I was like, oh, I think, like, I felt called to comedy. I was like, I feel like this is what I'm supposed, like what I should do. Yeah, I do think it came from me wanting to just be a star, like wanting to be like, I want my voice to be heard, of like kind of like always probably as a kid not feeling like I was necessarily good enough, or like not necessarily feeling like my voice was important, or like I wasn't really heard. And then again, probably some psychological thing where you're like, okay, now I want to be heard, now I want to show. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
I think it does, man. I think I'm very similar too, because I've never the like class clown type kid, and the class clowns always end up like selling insurance anyway. I feel like they're never the ones, except for like Bert Kreischer. He's like the only.
Yeah, I was like afraid to sneeze in class. Like if I sneezed, I was like, shit.
Oh no, everybody's staring at me now. But and you know, when you talk to people who aren't comedians, or maybe are just kind of outside of that world or whatever, you know, sometimes you people be like, well, why don't you like be fun? Can you be funny now? You know, and that is like the worst possible position to be in. And so, but there's something I've always thought where like, I really like performing. And one of the things that I like about it, I think, is that I'm in complete control of what the thing is for the most part. Like if you're going to try and be like goofy in a group of people, or if you're trying to be a class clown or whatever, there's a lot of variables there or whatever. And like, you know, things might be received a certain way or whatever. And there's also like, you know, you'll be around some folks who like can't turn it off, you know, so they're constantly trying to like tell jokes and like be like, what about this? What about this? And I'm not particularly like that either, I don't think. There's something I like to be like, I will be totally quiet for an hour. And then if you just give me 5 minutes, I will go up there and say the things that I would like to say. And then I will be done. I'm totally fine.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, I'll be funny when I want to be, but like I agree. There's some comics there's always running bits, always trying to make each other laugh. I'm like, this is exhausting.
Yeah,
like,
no, right.
Like, how do you feel inside? That's what I want to talk about. Like,
you have to be so dead inside.
Like, what are your traumas? Like, let's talk about our flaws.
Could we just be sad for a second?
The true artist.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that, man. And so we kind of touched on this a little bit, but like, you know, how has COVID impacted your like mental headspace first and foremost, and then secondarily like your creative output, kind of?
Yeah, it didn't give me. I didn't have the positive impact. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that for sure. Again, I'm definitely a person that like needs to be in motion to like stay in motion. And if I think I'm naturally just a very lazy person. Like I could sit in bed all day, not care, not care. And I'm in my bed right now.
You look very comfortable, man.
Yeah, I'm super comfortable. I bought some new pillows, you know.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think like I had so much fun in the summer. Like I had so much fun this summer when the mics, like there were a whole bunch of mics going on outdoors. Like it was better than it was New York to me. Like
I would agree.
was like, this is why I'm here. Like I felt so, even though like I think mentally because of COVID I was living by myself. all my roommates left. Honestly, kind of happy they left because I didn't really like them. They didn't like each other, and I was like the middle, so they hear all the problems. Um, but
That's never good.
no, I was definitely alone for like 8 months, and I think it like took me to some like dark places for sure.
Yeah.
But I just noticed like the times I got to go out and the times I got to do things like I noticed my comedy getting stronger of like not necessarily trying to write jokes, but going up say trying to tell how I feel. Like it felt really um what's the it felt like I was just giving like a stream of consciousness during my
Mm.
sets rather than jokes, and it was like the one thing I always wanted to do. So like there were some parts where I think it really helped me grow as an artist. But mentally, like I think it's the whole thing with comedy comedians too. Like, kind of got to be a little bit mentally unhealthy to be great. And I like, I really, I really went for it there. Um, no, I do think, although it was not the best experience, it was definitely a growing. Like I grew a lot. I know. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I've been this now. Like coming out of it, like I mean, no, we're still in COVID, but I haven't been. I feel like I've been like more mentally sound now than I've been in the past, 4 or 5 years. Where I'm like, oh, like I'm pretty sure of myself. I'm like I still know what I'm doing or like what my goal is, but like I kind of do know like a little bit more who I am, like what I like what I kind of stand for. And so I think like COVID took me to dark places, but they're like places I needed to go.
Mm. That's super interesting that you say that, man, because I feel the same way. Like I feel yeah, there were times that were like definitely difficult and a bit maddening. But it's so funny you put it like that too, because like I definitely feel more confident in like who I am and like what I'm trying to talk about and present. Um, than I did really like at any point previous to this, I think. Um,
Yeah.
like for myself, like I kind of realized that like I'm gonna pretty much exclusively be doing uh, like funny songs um, when we come back and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I think like I think it would have taken me 3 years to figure that out, but in
I
having
think
the time to like just sit home and think about stuff, I think I put that together a lot
yeah,
quicker.
I think yeah, because who you are naturally, you're very like welcoming and like you just have very positive energy.
Oh, thank
And
you.
like the times like I found you funniest apart from your songs when you were riffing, when you were just riffing.
Mm,
Because I think you have like a really good ability to like read the room and like read everyone how everyone's feeling in the room. So like I remember you like doing like your diarrhea song,
hmm
like and then going into riffs in between, or like when you hosted the open mic, you just kind of like riff off whoever was going up before, and like that's what I always found funniest about you.
Oh, thank you,
So
man.
like I think that combination of like you have your planned out songs, which is where the jokes are, and then ability kind of like, and then the ability to speak freely in between that. I think that's a very powerful, dangerous combination. It,
Thank you, man.
like I think
Uh, I think that that will be kind of yeah my approach going forward because if I know I have the song, then I can talk about whatever in between. And if it doesn't go well, I can just go back to the song.
yeah,
It'll be fine.
yeah. And then I think personally for me, like I don't know if you remember, I think in the past, like my jokes were all to the T jokes, set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline, and then like as it gotten on as it, like time went on, like I realized I'm a little bit more of a storyteller, a little bit more of like I don't like I can't do these set up punchline jokes anymore.
Hmm.
I also like talking about how I'm feeling like
Hmm.
in like inside like a lot. I think like the set we did at the show at the rooftop show, like like I kind of went back and forth in between like joke and then being like, oh, this is how I feel right now. Like this is
Yes.
like I feel like I feel like it was like an emotional roller coaster. Like what? Like I take here's the joke. Oh, we're gonna go down and talk about sadness right now, like off the cuff. Like didn't
Yeah.
even plan on saying it, and then bringing them back up with a joke. It felt like, oh, I learned the type of comedian that I am, and it was like kind of the comedian I always wanted to be, but I didn't know how to get there, so I was like just hiding behind easy, like simple jokes. And then I'm like, oh, like I get it now. Like I get who I'm supposed to be here. Like
I totally remember exactly what you're saying, man. And I remember, yeah, there were a couple times where you came to my mic and I think because you like came late, you were like, can I go on last or whatever? And there were a couple times where you didn't have any jokes, but you were just talking and interacting with the room or what came to your mind or whatever. And I always thought that was so bold because if I tried to do that, I'd be like so scared. But that I think was the beginning of you starting to work on that kind of thing. And then when I saw you at the rooftop show, man, I thought your set was so fucking strong. And I felt also, to be totally honest, I felt like even at that time you were a like more crystallized version of like what it is you're trying to do. Because like I said, like we were talking before the show here, a little like your approach and your style is very laid back, which I think it's confident. So I think it makes the audience like relax a little bit. Like, okay, he knows what he's doing. But then, yeah, you did kind of play with those emotions where you have a joke, and I won't spoil it, but suffice to say, you have a joke that I truly think absolutely no one else could tell. And I will tell you what it is afterwards. But
spoil the joke. No, who cares? I might know the joke.
You told the joke, and I thought about this so many times, but you said comedy is pretty easy, actually. Like it's not hard.
That's my favorite joke.
You're like, if you're not good at it, like you probably just shouldn't do it. And like, if literally anybody else, if you weren't so relaxed, confident, like sweet and calm, any other stand-up, the audience would go, "What a fucking asshole." But you got a huge laugh at that, man.
Yeah, I mean,
that's so delicate and so good.
I've gotten huge silences from that too.
Well, hey, that's their fault as far as I'm
concerned. That comes with it. For sure. No, it's powerful when I pull that joke off because I think like the punchline is like, if you're not good, just be better. Like that's what I think.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, but it's that's so interesting to hear you say that, man, that you feel like a little bit more confident in what you're doing now. Because I wonder if that is true of some of our fellow comics also. Because
I've seen like comics grow and expand exponentially. Like that I like looked at them when I first moved here, like, what are you doing this for? And then like seeing them mid quarantine, like, oh my God, like I see it. I see their vision. And like they see their vision now. I can tell they see it too.
Yeah, I know it. I totally agree, man. Even two people that were at that show that really impressed me, and it's not like they were ever bad before, but Nick Tellelli, I think is like a fucking powerhouse now.
Nick Tellelli is, I can't, he's amazing. He's amazing.
And he's another person who he tells bits that other people can't, but he's very disarming. And when he says it's fucking funny, man. And Claire Alexander is another person too.
Claire's grown so much as well.
I know it.
Claire is so funny.
Because I went to like some early open mics, like, you know, a couple of years ago now with Claire, and we were both kind of just starting out or whatever. But when she was at your show, I guess it's fucking September now.
She found herself.
I was like, oh, yeah, it was that exact sensation I had where it's like, oh, she fucking has it now.
You know who else? You know who, in my opinion, might be probably, I think he has potential to be one of the greatest artists like I've ever known. Alex Richards.
Who's that?
Alex Richards.
Oh yeah,
Like
Alex.
Aussie boy.
Uh-huh.
That set he did when you played the guitar for him.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
That is like that Bo Burnham level like genius of like,
Yeah. Mm.
like I
And
don't know if it's just me. It just gets me. Like when he does good, I see a star. Like I see like a true star.
And Alex he's another one where like he's goofy, but I think he does bits that like other people can't do.
Mm-hmm.
He can be very silly and stuff like that. And dude, so is he in Australia? He had to go back,
Back in
right?
Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully he comes back. Hopefully he comes back later this year. I think that's his
Okay,
goal.
good.
Yeah, but I think he just started finding himself during the quarantine because he started last November.
I know. I asked him like, so what? You were like crushing it in Australia, and you were like, well, maybe I'll cut it in the States. And he was like, no, I didn't really do anything in Australia. I just came here and like took a sketch class. And I was like, really, man? Wow. Now he does I'm sure you've done it. I would like to do it. The like 31
Oh
liners
yeah,
in 30 minutes.
You'd be great for it. I'll let him know.
I'll reach out to him, man. And that's such a funny idea too, that it's what you have to write 31 line jokes, or you have to tell 31 liner jokes in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So you're right. No, I think it can go on for a while, but it's just
Okay.
yeah. You each have you each have 31 liners, and then you you download like a soundboard, like a digital soundboard, like on your phone. And then you after they tell the joke, you respond with like what sound, like applause, boo, like whatever it is. No,
Yeah,
but
he's another one. I love Alex too. He's such a cool dude. He's always been so nice to me.
Yeah, he's inspired. Like he was like a big help for me. Like he kind of in a way, like he inspired me to like kind of push out of like whatever comedy I was doing. Like he played a big role in like doing that show. He used to run this show called Waters. I don't know if you heard about that, but like
yes,
dude, it started off with like 4 of us in his like loft apartment, and then right before quarantine, his last show had over 100 people at it.
Did it really? Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him, man. Wow.
Yeah, like he just has that energy. He has like an intoxicating like energy.
Yeah. And that's a good example of, all right, so as comedy people, we're in a community, and like we said, sometimes like it can be wrought with jealousy. And again, when you have that business aspect to it, where like, oh, there's only so many spots or whatever, so you gotta, be cutthroat and whatnot. I understand the impulse to be like, I don't like this person, I don't respect this person or whatever. The other side of that coin, which is always more fruitful, is to be inspired by your fellow artists.
Yeah.
Because I will see people, you are one of them, where if you see them doing really well and doing interesting things, it doesn't make me pissed off. It inspires me to be like, man, there's a lot to learn from that. I would like to work on that type of thing too, or whatever.
Yeah. I think you hit that spot on. Like I always like, if I think you're funny, I want to be your friend.
Like, no, me too.
Like if I think you're like, I don't get, it's not a jealous thing. It's like a holy shit. Like show me. Like I want to learn. And I think that's where like the jealousy. Again, I'll go back to that joke of like, if like comedy's hard, just be better. Like the people that like get jealous, I think, are the people that are like, I'm not good. Like
I'm not good, and I refuse to like open myself up to be better.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like the refusal of like,
then you get really stuck.
People just don't get what I'm doing. Like they don't get.
Yeah, right.
It's like it was the crowd. It was a bad crowd.
Every time.
Yeah, like I said, 5% of the time it's a bad crowd.
Like, yeah, I'll give you a little leeway there, but it's not the majority,
No. Like, there's always something you can do, because like I used to work at like a comedy club, and I would see first 2 comics bomb, you know, oh, this is just a shit crowd. Like, this is just not, like, it's not going to be a good night. Headliner comes on and just changes the energy, you know?
Right.
It's like, there's ways. You got to figure it out. Like,
Yeah, and it requires, an openness, which, to pull back a little bit, is kind of an openness that we should have across all spectrums of life, even with people who are very frustrating in your own life, whether it's people you work with or whatever. To like appreciate who someone is or what they're doing, you do have to, like you said before, like you got to understand where they're coming from a little bit. So like Nick Tillelli, he's like a Long Island kid, you know? So like if you wrote his jokes down on paper, you might be like, oh my goodness, this is foul or something. But I understand that who Nick is and where he's coming from. And
he's one of the sweetest guys I've ever met.
I know, he's always been
But it's
super nice to me.
like, literally, though, like, I was afraid of him the first few
Me
times
too.
I met him. I was
Me
like,
too. I was like, I don't think.
He just does not seem nice. Like, he does not seem like a. But then I get to know him. This kid's sending me 20-minute meditation videos on like YouTube. Like, he's a very mindful guy.
Yes.
Like every joke he does is like the purpose. Like, I think Ali Mason put it the best way. Like, in terms of his comedy, it's like, I want to hate him, but I can't. He's too funny.
That is it. That really is it.
Like, I want to not like him, but he's too damn good.
I know it. I know. And yeah, man, I mean, what a lesson that is in like, don't we too often like judge people based on a small aspect of their personality? When in fact, if we were to have an actual conversation with this person, you might find, like you said again before, like we have so much more in common than we think we do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, in terms of how we bring that level of compassion to the world at large, it remains to be seen. I am ultimately an optimistic person because I think it's the only thing worth being. I mean, pessimism just seems like what reason would you ever get out of bed, you know? But I wanna pull back even further a little bit because I want to ask you a question I'd love to ask everybody. And one of the things you mentioned at the top of the show was, I want to ask you about, you know, your spiritual background and whatnot, is you mentioned the word coincidence, which is something Mike and I have been talking about a lot the past couple of weeks. Coincidences, synchronicities, and we've been talking about like what faith is and what the placebo effect is. Because, well, if it's the placebo effect acting on you, but you feel differently, how is that unreal to you? And so when somebody, whether they believe in astrology or whatever, or somebody said, I saw a sign, it's like, well, from an outsider's perspective, who am I to say that's not real? Because it had a real impact on the person who felt that. And they, you know, made a life change or did the X, Y, and Z as a result of it. And so it has a tangible result. And in that sense, it's very real. So what would you say is one of, or like the most spiritual or religious experience that you have had?
Yeah, that was like the question that really, like, when you sent me the questions, I was like really trying hard to like think of a specific moment. And I don't necessarily know. I think as I've gotten older, it's literally just constant. I mean, again, like, it could be placebo, but like it feels like constant signs of like, even if I go against the signs, it like I still feel like I recognize them. Where like yeah, again, it's stumped me. I just think as I've gotten older, I've like just gotten more in tune with, I guess, like the world around me, and I notice like kind of like the give receive thing. Like, you get what you like put out, and like the energy you put out is like the energy you get back. Manifestation of like where I genuinely believe I can create whatever outcome I want. It's just like you know what you have to do. Like I'll try and like think like when I started getting spiritual. Of course, it happened from like a mushroom trip when I was like 19.
Me too.
Like that was like the first time like I was really, it like really changed my perspective. I remember I cried a lot during it.
There you go.
Like thought about my family. It really, when you feel like that connectedness of like, I guess like it also kind of showed like not necessarily, I don't necessarily like believe in a god, but like an energy of like a balance of like good and bad could be completely out of your control, but it's there for a reason. Like,
yes.
Really just, I still will question like why I'm here and like what my purpose is, but I know like deep down it's like the people I meet, the connections I make with friends and family, that like it literally just spreading like love, like no matter how hard it gets. Like that's kind of the root. That's where my spirituality is. Like, I also think that's why like comedy sometimes feels so fake. And like that's where that like joke comes from. Like I don't even like comedy. I don't even like. I just do it because it's easy. Of like, because sometimes when I think about it, I think it's a very selfish act of like, trying to trying to get big, or like trying to like entertain and impress, and it feels like inherently selfish when I do it, and it's like spiritually and morally, like what I know and like the type of person I want to be is not necessarily that. Again, I'm really trying to think of like instances of like
well, I'm not trying to pin you down on this. I will say that I agree with what you said there, man. And honestly, it's things we talk about on the show a lot. Also, that I always say that Mike has a little bit more of a Christian background, but I always think that what God is, like when people say the universe, well, I received a sign from the universe, or what people think the common conception of what the universe is, I think is what God is. It's all the stuff interacting with one another in this, like Alan Watts calls it the harmony of contained conflicts. That like the universe is kind of playing hide and seek with itself. And I do think it's also kind of like a big giant supercomputer wherein, like you said, if you put positivity into the machine, you will get positivity back out of it, almost no matter your material circumstance. And I guess to reframe the question a little bit, like, what do you make of those coincidences or synchronicities? I know that Carl Jung, I read his book called Synchronicity, wherein he tries to, it was a little bit too sciencey for me. I'm not smart enough to totally understand it, but it basically, I think he was the one who came up with the idea of the collective unconscious, that there is a sort of like neural network of like complete compassion, love, synchronicity that exists within our existence. And at times we like reach into it and pluck little things out of it, or like the universe presents us with little things and we go, holy shit, that is important. And we, come back to reality a little bit.
Okay.
Like what do you think coincident, like why are coincidences? That's like a dumb question. But
why are coincidences? I don't know. In that, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna go a little off topic, but I feel like it kind of like tags into what you're saying of like I'll notice if I'm not necessarily going in the right direction, the direction I know I need to. like I'll see exterior signs, and maybe again it's my brain creating these signs and like just validating like, oh, you're not supposed to do this. Um but I also see like when I'm on the right path, the signs show again. And I think like I don't know what coincidences are there for, but I think like I don't necessarily think there's like a destiny or you're like on an undetermined path, like a predetermined path. I think you have almost maybe you have multiple paths. It's like whatever one you choose, as long as like almost you follow the signs, you'll be there. Like you'll like if it's a negative path and you keep seeing the signs or like choosing to ignore them, like you'll get yourself there. If you see the positive and you keep trying to chase those signs, you'll get yourself there. Like I think coincidences are there to give you a choice to follow it or like ignore it. But like the coincidences I ignore, oh, they keep me up at night. Like, you know, like the ones I choose to follow, I'm like, wow, that was a really good, like, that good decision, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I always find myself whenever I ignore the signs, the signs that my brain makes, you know, like like not the best outcome happens.
I would agree with that, man. And it is like sometimes, again, particularly in the world in America nowadays, where there's a lot of hero worship, and we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, be they our peers or very successful people. It becomes very tempting to ignore your like intuition or that still small voice within,
Yeah.
and be like, no, this person did it this way, so I have to do it this way. I keep thinking about this the past couple months, man. Like I'm so sick of hearing all the like comics, who came up during the 80s and 90s and stuff, and talking about like the road and how tough it was and how you had to do it and everything was awful and stuff like that. I'm like, it's just different now, man. And like, that's okay. There's not one way to do anything, let
Yeah.
alone like specifically be a stand-up comedian,
Yeah, especially in regards to like specials. Specials are old news. I don't want a special. Like,
I
that
know,
seems
man.
ridiculous.
Oh, it seems
Like,
terrible.
like my attention span, I haven't watched a special fully in so long. It's too much. It's too much. It's
I
too
agree.
much. Give me 3 minutes, 3 minute
Yes.
jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I need. And then
That's
there's
what
like also like Hannibal Buress's new special that came out, the Miami Nights, that
Oh, yeah.
incorporated his music and like special effects. I don't know if you saw it.
No, is it good though?
It just it showed you what a special could be. You
Yeah,
know, it wasn't
dude.
just a straight hour. I think he took it from like different shows sometimes. Again, he incorporated his own like music, like his other forms of art into it.
So
Like
cool.
it's really changing. Like Andrew Schultz getting famous by posting like YouTube videos.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, like there's just different ways. Yeah, there's definitely different ways of doing it.
And the only way to like feel good about what you're doing ultimately is not to exactly follow the steps of somebody else's path, but to listen to those coincidences, listen to your heart. And when something you feel compelled to do something, you feel compassionate about doing it, even if other people are like, I don't know about that. Like you
Do it.
gotta do it, you know?
Do it. Yeah.
Probably my favorite comedy special, one of my favorite of all time, is Zach Galifianakis's Live at the Purple Onion, which I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like from a bunch of years ago now. But he did a similar thing where it's an hour special, but there's probably like 25 minutes of actual stand-up in it. And then he does like character pieces in it. He does some behind the scenes kind of stuff in it. He does some interview stuff in it. And the whole thing presents as like a work of art, as
Yeah.
opposed to just like, well, he rented a theater and he told those jokes in front of 1,500 people.
I think I would probably enjoy that special because the way you're saying it is you get a glimpse of who he actually is. Like
Right.
the only full hour specials that are like I'm able to watch are like specials where I'm learning about who this person is inside. You know,
Mm,
I don't like comedy for the jokes. I like comedy like I like comedy for the people. Like I
yeah.
like it for the person that just shows how much of a flawed like individual they are. Like hate to bring up Louis CK, but like but he was like very good at like admitting his flaws and
Yes.
like I don't want to don't want to like again, but like
We're not saying he's
really,
perfect, but
yeah, no, but like he had a way of making of like humanizing himself in his comedy that I think drew a lot of people to him. Um, Bo
and it
Burnham again, he was another one that like really like pushed me of like you felt how human and imperfect like, and insecure he was through his art of like he showed you who he was, which is why I could be entertained. But like
I think you hit the nail on the head there, man. And sometimes I think that like all entertainment is us seeking connection. Like, and
yeah,
that's why, like, say the past, 15 years or whatever, like you see reality shows became more and more popular. And of course, they're of course not very real with regard to what real life is, but they do have more of a veneer of feeling connected to this actual person. Podcasting becoming popular is like I have watched one or two of Bill Burr's stand-up specials throughout the years, and like I think they're good and stuff, but him on his podcast, like I do
yeah,
like because it you actually hear who he is.
yeah. I like most comedians' podcasts more than I like their stand up.
I completely agree, and I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah, because
Which, like you
I
said,
get it. You're
yeah,
funny. You can do the jokes. Who are you? Like,
yeah,
who are you?
right, right. Why are you this way? What are the things that bug you? Because, and here's the dark side to that, man, is if if we live in a world now where we are so lacking a sense of community, do we kind of scratch that itch a little bit through this parasocial thing of like listening to people's podcasts and watching their vlogs or whatever? Like, is that a bit of a dystopian thing at all?
I think it might be. I think it really might be. No, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. It's like you're getting that connection from people you're not actually connected to, while completely ignoring the connections with your family or your friends, or like, like there's like I can like people probably feel more closely related to these people online than they do like the people next to them.
I think you could be right, man. And look, I mean, particularly during COVID, when everybody is stuck inside, I mean, I do think it's nice to have those, at least some kind of connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may well be a symptom of something not so great. But also, I guess you could see yeah, I don't know what to say about that exactly. Suffice to say that I do think it's very interesting and way more compelling when you get to see who somebody actually is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, just by telling jokes, you're kind of seeing who this person is. But I would say it's almost, I also think sometimes too that audiences somewhere along the way became more hip because, like, okay, you had like the Groucho Marx, Catskill, like Red Fox guys who just told like street jokes. Like, so, a preacher walks into a bar, those type of guys.
Yeah.
And then the audience wanted more from the performer. So then you move into the 80s and 90s of the Jerry Seinfeld type guys where it's like, here's the things that make me upset or whatever. Or like, did you ever notice this about
Yeah. A little bit more
um,
observational.
yes, right. Well, yeah, right. This type of stuff, and then audience kind of caught up to that, and now I think we demand more of a performer. That it's like, no, tell me who you are,
Yeah.
which I think is cool.
Yeah. I like it. It's the probably the only comedic like the only thing I can have comedic success in But I think I've become too truthful and like too honest. Like, people, that's how it is. That's really how it is.
Sorry, folks. All right, Zach, let me ask you one final thing. And it's
Yep.
okay if you can't think of one offhandedly, of course. But this is a question, of course, I like to steal and I like to ask folks is, can you think of one of the hardest times you've ever laughed? Is there a time that jumps out of your mind where you're like, this thing happened, even if it was when you're a little kid or whatever, or something that happened to you 2 weeks ago?
Oh man, I honestly, I can't think of an exact example, but I think when I laugh the hardest and it's like pure joy, like crying from my crying from my eyes, is like when I'm talking about like depression with friends, or like like truly like turmoil, like emotional things with friends, and like bonding over. I bond over sadness with people. I enjoy people talking about their true feelings, like, or like how they really feel. Again, like goes to how what I like in comedy. But like when I know you're being real about something sad, and like we can like talk over that, like just yeah, I feel like those are the moments where I've like laughed the hardest, where it's like I'll be like looking at a friend like, hey, what's up? And they're like, I want to die. And I'm like, oh, me too. And then crying, laughing. like like I don't know. I'm sorry if that's too dark.
No, it's not at all, man. I think it's a very a super interesting point. And I would imagine I've experienced them myself of some hearty laughs, like in a funeral home, where like it's everything is so sad and so real and so heavy that it's like the situation can be so tense to begin with that something that cuts that is like very powerful also. And also, like you said, like just the comedy often is I guess a lot of times about like honesty, and being honest about being sad is something in regular life you're not really supposed to do. You know, if
Yeah.
you're a machismo guy, especially, you stuff the feelings down until you have a heart attack and die.
Yeah.
But so there's a certain like taboo in like actually discussing that, like I'm feeling really bad, you know, that I'm like
Yeah.
really not doing well, that it's like laughing
But
in church
those
or
are all,
something,
yeah,
you know.
like those are also the parts that make me feel better. Like when I can
Yeah,
laugh
that's true
about
too.
like that. Like
Hmm.
oh, like you get it. Like okay, like there we go. I feel a little bit more connected. I don't feel as alone. Like but definitely I get that, like of like cutting, like breaking the sadness with laughter, like in the funeral service or things like that. Like
Yeah.
I did stand up at a funeral before.
How'd you get the gig, dude?
Oh man, it was not a gig I wanted. But no, it was my best friend's mom, and then there's his dad asked if I could do, and I was like not like ready, like I was been like
Yeah.
6 months in, like and they're like, we'd like you to do stand up at our funeral.
Joe says tough room.
Yeah, no, like no, but it was such a strange. It was
Yeah, that'd
good.
be
It was good. Like I did
really.
just like two jokes about his mom, like just like things like about like what she liked, and
Yeah.
what she did, and but like seeing like the room get like lit up from that, when I was not expecting anything. I did not know what was going to happen. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
right.
freaking man, like
Yeah.
oh my god, like am I really going to do this right now? Like is this really what I'm going to
Here
do?
I go.
Like Jesus Christ. Um but I left there like going like that was the right thing, like that was what everyone, that's what I need, what we all needed, especially because it was like a just really strange way to go. Like it was pretty intense, very like spontaneous.
Yeah.
But yeah, it showed like I think just acknowledging hard times is what makes me laugh the hardest. Like It's 'cause it makes you feel connected. I think when I feel connected is like when I can really get going and get laughing. I mean, I also laugh at really dumb things, like piece of corn's on the floor. I'll start dying. Like I remember there was like one time I like saw a piece of corn on the floor, and I was like, that is so out of place. Like that's I could die laughing about that for hours.
In a way, that's a sort of uplifting thing too, because it goes to show that when you are at the lowest of the low, it is ripe for hitting that funny moment and kind of breaking out of that. And I would imagine I have experienced that laughter is one of the only ways to like actually work your way out of being in a low spot.
Yeah, to heal. Yeah.
To heal, exactly. I know. And in a way, like you could even say that like when Jerry Seinfeld does comedy, there's a certain healing aspect to it because people are like, oh, I agree that thing is frustrating or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Laughter can certainly be a healing thing. Maybe it's always healing. I don't know. I would do some research about that. This is making me think of your products that you make the posters for.
I forgot about those.
Just on one last thing before we go, just hit the audience with a couple of your sweet inventions that you've come up with, Zach.
Oh yeah, I'll just like Photoshop like fake inventions that don't make any sense and then make posters for them. I think I had one called like the reverse pickling machine that turns your pickles back into cucumbers.
It's flying off the shelves.
Yeah, there's one called bird rake, which is just like a rake attached to a bird, so the bird will rake your yard.
Or not, but whatever.
Yeah, dirt blower just blows dirt.
Blow the dirt around. You know, sometimes you have dirt over here, you want to put it over there. You know,
get yourself a dirt blower. Blender fan, which is just the blender attachment as a fan. Enlarged as a fan.
You could just have it hold up the eggplant and starts hacking it up all over the place. It's brilliant.
I don't know why anyone hasn't gotten into it. Could be sold in IKEA.
Well, listen, Zach. Thank you very much for coming on the show this evening.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
This was a grand old time. Hang out. I'm gonna end the thing. We can chat for a little bit. But thank you to everybody who chimed in, watched, listened, or watched the show this evening. Mike and I will be back on Sunday morning. So we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.